Jason had a habit of working out late at night because the gym was always quieter after 11 p.m. Most people had already gone home, leaving the building filled with only the faint hum of fluorescent lights and the soft buzzing of machines in standby mode. That night felt different the moment he walked inside. The front desk was empty, the music system had stopped playing, and the long hallway leading to the locker rooms echoed with each step he took. Jason shrugged it off, assuming the staff member had stepped away for a moment. After changing into his workout clothes, he began lifting weights in the far corner of the gym where the mirrors lined the wall. About 20 minutes into his routine, he noticed something strange in the reflection behind him. For a split second, it looked like someone had walked past the doorway leading to the cardio room. Thinking another late-night member had arrived, Jason turned around, but the hallway was empty. Silence in the building suddenly felt heavier. A few minutes later, while resting between sets, he clearly heard the sound of a locker slamming shut in the men's locker room.
Hello?
The noise
Is anyone
echoed
in
through
there?
the gym. Jason called out, asking if anyone else was there, but no one answered. Curiosity mixed with unease as he slowly walked toward the locker room entrance. The lights inside flickered weakly, and rows of metal lockers stood perfectly still. Nothing looked disturbed. Just as Jason was about to leave, one of the lockers near the back creaked open by itself. No one was standing nearby. Inside the locker was nothing but an old, faded gym membership card lying on the shelf. When Jason picked it up, he noticed the date printed on it. It had expired over 10 years ago. Suddenly, behind him, another locker slammed shut with a loud bang, making him jump. Jason spun around, heart racing, but again the room was completely empty. Laura preferred running late at night because the gym was less crowded and she could focus on her workouts without distractions. One evening, she arrived just before closing time and headed straight for the cardio section. The long row of treadmills faced a wall of mirrors, and beyond them large windows showed the dark parking lot outside. Laura started jogging, listening to music through her headphones, while the steady rhythm of the treadmill filled the quiet room. After a few minutes, she noticed something strange. The treadmill next to her suddenly powered on by itself. The screen lit up even though no one had touched it. Laura assumed it was some kind of electrical glitch, but then the belt slowly began to move. The speed increased gradually, as if someone invisible had stepped onto it. Laura pulled one earbud out and stared at the machine. There was absolutely no one standing there. She looked around the gym, expecting a staff member to come fix the issue, but the entire cardio room was empty. The treadmill kept speeding up until it reached a full running pace. The pounding of the belt echoed loudly across the room. Laura felt a chill crawl down her spine. She stepped off her own treadmill and cautiously walked closer to the moving machine. Just as she reached the control panel, the speed suddenly dropped back to 0 and the machine shut itself off. The screen went dark again. Confused and unsettled, Laura stepped back. But a few seconds later, the treadmill started again, this time even faster than before. The belt spun wildly, making a loud, mechanical whirring sound. That was enough for Laura. She grabbed her bag and rushed out of the cardio room, glancing back once more before leaving. As she looked through the doorway, the treadmill was still running, even though the gym lights had started turning off automatically for closing time. A gym employee named Mark was responsible for closing the building each night. One of his tasks was reviewing the security cameras before locking up. The gym had dozens of cameras placed throughout the building, near the front desk, in the hallways, and across the workout areas. Most nights the footage showed nothing unusual. People worked out, cleaned their equipment, and eventually left. But one night, while scanning through the recordings from earlier that evening, Mark noticed something odd in one of the camera angles. The camera pointed toward the weightlifting section, where a large bench press station sat in the center of the room. In the footage, the bench suddenly dipped downward slightly, exactly as if someone had sat down on it. The problem was that no one was visible in the frame. Mark leaned closer to the monitor, thinking maybe the camera had glitched. But then the barbell above the bench slowly tilted to one side, like invisible hands had grabbed it. The movement lasted only a few seconds. Before everything went still again, Mark replayed the clip several times, trying to understand what he was seeing. As he continued watching, another strange moment appeared on a different camera. A rack of dumbbells stood against the wall in the free weight area. Without warning, two of the dumbbells slid forward and dropped onto the floor with a loud crash. The recording clearly showed the weights falling, but again, no person was anywhere nearby. Mark checked the motion sensors connected to the lights in that section of the gym. If someone had walked there, the lights should have turned on automatically. But according to the system logs, the lights had never activated. Disturbed by what he saw, Mark decided to check the building one last time before leaving. The gym was completely empty now, and most of the lights had been switched off. Only a few dim emergency lights remained on in the hallways. As he walked toward the locker rooms, he heard a faint metallic tapping sound echoing from inside. It sounded like someone lightly knocking on a locker door. Mark assumed someone might have accidentally been locked inside after closing, so he pushed open the door and called out. The locker room was dark except for a single overhead light flickering near the sinks. Rows of lockers stretched along the walls, casting long shadows across the floor. The tapping sound continued for a few seconds before suddenly stopping. Mark stepped deeper into the room, scanning each row carefully. Everything appeared empty. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw one of the locker doors slowly swing open. The hinges creaked loudly in the silence. Mark walked toward it cautiously and pulled the door wider. Inside the locker hung an old gym uniform shirt, faded and dusty, as if it had been left there for years. Suddenly the locker door beside it slammed shut violently. The noise echoed so loudly that Mark jumped back in shock. A moment later, another locker across the room banged shut too. Then another. One by one, lockers began slamming around the room as if something unseen was moving between them. Mark didn't wait to see what would happen next. He quickly backed out of the locker room and hurried down the hallway toward the exit. After locking the building that night, Mark couldn't stop thinking about the strange things he had witnessed on the cameras. The next morning he showed the footage to the gym manager. Together they reviewed every strange moment, the moving bench press, the falling dumbbells, and the unexplained activity in the locker room. None of it made sense. The cameras showed clear movement, but no person ever appeared in the frames. Even stranger, the motion sensors never detected anything during those moments. The manager tried to dismiss it as technical malfunctions, but Mark wasn't convinced. A few days later, he spoke with one of the older employees who had worked at the gym for many years. The employee told him something unsettling about the building's past. Before it became a gym, the location had once been a small community recreation center. Decades ago, according to local rumors, a man had suffered a fatal accident there while lifting weights alone late at night. Some people believed that ever since then, strange things occasionally happened in the building after closing time. Machines would turn on by themselves, lockers would open and shut, and security cameras would capture movements that no one could explain. Mark tried to forget the story, but sometimes while closing the gym he still felt like he wasn't truly alone. Every once in a while he would hear the faint sound of metal weights clanking together somewhere in the dark workout area. Whenever that happened, he avoided looking back toward the empty gym floor, because deep down he feared he might see someone still exercising long after the building had closed.